let's get on with it. Greg Hardy, this was a big story of the night, and I've got some things to say about this, Lewis, but I'll let you lead the way. Give me the technical breakdown from the undefeated Luis J. Gomez.
Well, where can we start? Look, Greg Hardy looks great. Greg Hardy looks like a killer. He's definitely. How long has he been training MMA? 2-3 years.
Something like that, yeah, not long.
I mean, but professional athlete obviously has been able to adapt his body to this. He looks like a killer. Nobody liked him coming in. You're talking about fanfare. He was getting booed by everybody, coming off like a villain. The way he kind of is carrying himself, he's really leaning into the bad guy thing, and especially it's weird because you have the whole thing with him, allegedly hitting his ex-wife, and you'd think that he would just try to put a little bit of a good guy image on himself, but he didn't give a fuck. I'm trying to remember because I was getting hammered. By that time, when you're live at a UFC event, I was drinking whiskey all night. I fell asleep on the subway home. I dangerously, on the way home from Brooklyn to Harlem, fell asleep.
Is that why you fucking just totally ignored my text and bailed on me? Because
my cell phone...
We were supposed to go and hang out afterwards, and you were nowhere to be seen. So, that explains it all, Lewis. Here's me wandering around Brooklyn like some fucking homeless Englishman. I'm like, where's Lewis, everybody? Where's Lewis? Where's Lewis? In fact, I've got a funny story about that. I got a taxi all the way back to the hotel. Yeah. And then a buddy of mine says, I'm at this little dive bar around the corner from where we are. And I thought, oh, cool. And I said, what's the address? So I got in a taxi because it was raining like crazy. I didn't want to walk. And he takes me all the way back to fucking Brooklyn, over the bridge and everything. I'm like, what are you doing? And he meant where we are by the arena, not where we are at the hotel.
So
fucking
funny.
Idiot. And I got to this little crappy bar in Brooklyn, and it was a shitty dive bar, man. It was like, it was sketchy. It was gross. Like, all the drinks were served in plastic cups. There was like some... almost homeless people singing karaoke. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, yeah, this guy's one of those guys that love dive bars. I asked the guy, where's the worst dive bar in Brooklyn? That's what I want to go to. I'm like, well, the place is a shithole. And I'm sitting there, and this guy comes over, and he was trying to start a fight with me. Swear to God.
No.
It was so funny. And I couldn't be bothered. He's like, were you at the fight? I'm like, no, mate, no. And he sits down, and he starts he's drunk, and he's it was no threat to me. Let's just put it like that.
Hold on, wait a minute. Slow down.
I'm trying to ignore him and have a conversation with my buddy. And this guy sits down. He's like, "Were you at the fight?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Why not?" I think you could fight. I go, "Really?" Oh yeah. And I didn't even want to give a slight hint that I was a fighter, because then I've got to deal with that, and then they start asking questions and stuff. So I was pretending I wasn't in the UFC or anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy's he's going, yeah, with a bit of training, bro, I think you could go a long way. You got the physique for it and everything. I'm like, okay, all right, buddy. And then I turn my back on him again, and then I see him signal his buddies over, and his two buddies come over, and they're like either side flanking me, and trying to talk shit, and I'm trying to ignore them, but I knew what was going on. And then he spots my watch. I had a Rolex on, and he's like, I don't think you should be coming in here with a watch on like that.
Wait a minute, hold on. This is like a thuggy dude?
Yeah.
White guy, black guy, Puerto Rican?
White guy.
What?
White guy. 3 white guys. And I don't think you should be coming in here with that Rolex on, bro. I'm like, hey, listen, take your fucking eyes off my watch, okay? I said, whatever you want to say, whatever, but stop looking at my watch, okay, pal? Because that ain't going to end well for you.
Yeah.
And then I turned my back and carried on with my conversation. And then I could see him through the window, the mirror behind the bar. I was keeping a little eye on him. I was talking to my buddy, but one eye was on the reflection on the mirror. And I could see them all looking at each other like what to do. And then one guy just kind of went, nah, fuck this guy. He seems a bit too confident. And they walked away. But for a second there, I was going to get mugged in Brooklyn, Lewis. And that's all your fault, because you abandoned me.
No, I got hammered at the fight. I'm drinking whiskey all night. We ended up getting tickets. Dan Soder, I went with Dan Soder, hilarious comedian. He's the fucking man.
Yep.
We got tickets from Stipe Miocic. I guess Stipe was a guest star on Billions, who Dan is a regular actor on. And we these great third row seats. You're right, they're better than the riser seats. Fine, I'll give it to you. So I'm just getting obliterated, just drinking whiskeys all night. And at one point I'm drunk, and I'm like, dude, I better slow down. Let me just get a beer. And the beers they serve here are just huge, tall boys. So I drink by the time I drank that beer, I was just done. So the main event and co-main event are just a blur to me. Just the whole, at that point, I'm just just drunkenly yelling things out, being a fucking asshole fan. But What I remember? I remember Greg Hardy looking good, but I remember him not looking like a killer. The other guy, who did he fight? Crowder was his name.
So Alan Crowder, and yeah, allow me to interject, and that's why, because you said before he looked outstanding, looked great, and all these things. I'm thinking some of that's correct, but it's not quite right. I mean, the fight started. Greg Hardy's all of his fights have ended quick, right? And generally, any decent MMA fighter that ends up in the UFC, if you look at their records, their first 5, 6, 7, well, maybe back in the day, now guys are in the UFC with only 5 fights. But back in the day, you would look at people's records, and the first 10 fights against people you'd never heard of, they all ended quickly. Because at those grassroots level shows, if you're going to go the whole way, you should be disposing of the competition pretty quickly. If you show flair, if you show promise and potential. But then when you start fighting better guys, the knockouts stop coming quite as quickly. So Greg Hardy went into that fight, his third or fourth fight. I think he only had 2 or 3 minutes of experience in the fight. And he went out there and initially looked good. He was swinging. He was very, very aggressive. But you could see from his footwork, you could see from like his hesitation. He was like very wound up. It was like a coiled spring. That's the inexperience. I was trying to talk about this in the post-fight show on ESPN. When you first start your fights, and you probably were saying that you were actually really cool, Lewis. I think you're actually quite contrary to popular belief. You were kind of laid back and kind of chill. But most people in a fight, they're like, oh, the hype, the tensed up, the brain's going a million miles an hour. You know what I mean? And it's all a blur. And after the fight, you have no idea what happened generally. And when you're in those moments, things can go wrong. And if you've only got 2 or 3 minutes of MMA experience and you're in the second round and the guy's on his knees, you could almost be forgiven for throwing an illegal knee. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for him. But when you consider it was only his fourth fight, when you consider it was co-main event in the UFC, he's vastly inexperienced. Yeah, I give him a pass on that one, if I'm honest.
Well, look, I sort of give guys a pass. Illegal maneuvers, when somebody accidentally throws an illegal knee, if somebody accidentally throws a knee, I almost always give them a pass. They lose the fight. They lose the fight. It is what it is. That's the rules. But I'm not going like, what a fucking piece of shit scumbag. I'm going like, look, they're tired. He's getting into the second round now. He's never been there before. You're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. Your body is in a defensive mode where there's somebody that's trying to fucking take your head off. Somebody's trying to punch you, kick you, submit you, and your body is reacting. I think sometimes what happens is you just throw what's right there for you. And I think most of the time I would say 99% of the time I've seen an illegal knee in a fight, it's just a reaction in that moment, and it's more or less unfortunate, but it doesn't seem as if there's many guys that are intentionally throwing an illegal knee because you end up losing. The punishment there is too much to get away with that illegal knee. I mean, it just sort of depends on whether or not that guy wants to stop fighting you in that moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, what kind of absolute scumbag would throw an illegal knee? You know, because for me, it's a tough spot, Lewis. I mean, the rules are there for a reason. And heaven forbid somebody, you don't know my history of.
I just realized as you're saying this, how many illegal knees have you thrown to people, Michael Bisping?
Well, there was quite a high profile one. I just sent it to Harrington. Bring it up if you can. The high profile one was UFC 127 against Jorge Rivera. I had a point deducted for throwing an illegal knee. And then all hell broke loose after it. So I've been there, and then on the Ultimate Fighter as well. I need somebody in the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, go ahead.
Be honest about this, because who cares now? It's all over, right? Nobody's looking at that Jorge.
I'm retired. Retired. I couldn't care less.
Nobody gives a shit.
No comeback. No comeback.
So, my theory was nobody's throwing an illegal knee on purpose.
Yeah.
We're either one of those illegal knees on purpose and not just in a state of exhaustion and in a state of my body is just reacting.
Well, it definitely wasn't a state of exhaustion, okay?
The highest wrestling heart rate in the UFC, Michael Bisping, he doesn't have exhaustion.
Thank you very much. Took the words out of my mouth. No, it was a case of that motherfucker talked so much crap going into that fight. I was fuming. I was really mad to the point, and his cornerman, I was so mad at his cornerman as well, and I was like, if I see these people in the streets leading up to the fight this week in Sydney, I'm going to attack them. That's how mad. So I went into that fight. I was so fired up. I was like, I'm not stepping into this as a martial artist to shake and bow and, we're going to compete against one another. I thought, this guy has crossed the line and made this so personal. I'm going in there to beat your fucking ass. I'm going in there to knock you out. Let me see. Let me show it. But he wasn't getting up.
You had him in a Muay Thai position while his knees were on the ground.
I can't see. No, but I took him down. He was getting back to his feet, and as he got up, I threw the knee.
Yeah, I know. I see. Yeah. It's fucking hysterical.